June 23, 1945, southern Okinawa, Japan. The limestone cliff face is pockmarked with dark openings, dozens of them, maybe more, scattered across the hillside like wounds in the earth. Navy Corpsman Robert Hayes crouches behind a shattered palm tree, his medical kit pressed against his chest, and tries to count the cave mouths through the morning haze. He stops at 15. Behind him, the ruins of what used to be a village smolder in the humid air. "Movement! 11 o'clock!" whispers Private First Class Danny Chen, an Army medic attached to the 96th Infantry Division. He's pointing toward a cave entrance about 40 yards upslope, where something white, a piece of cloth maybe, has just disappeared into the darkness. Hayes nods. They'd been searching these caves for 3 days now, ever since the organized Japanese resistance collapsed, and the shooting mostly stopped. Mostly. Yesterday, a sniper killed Lieutenant Morrison while he was helping an elderly woman out of a cave near Itoman. The day before that, Corpsman Williams took a round through the shoulder while treating a child's burned leg. Could be civilians, Hayes says. Could be holdouts. Only one way to find out. They move uphill in a crouch, boots slipping on loose coral rock. The June heat is oppressive, 95 degrees, maybe more, and Hayes can feel sweat running down his spine beneath his utility uniform. His canteen sloshes half empty against his hip. He's already used most of his water cleaning wounds. The cave entrance is maybe 6 feet high, shaped like a jagged mouth. Hayes pauses at the threshold, letting his eyes adjust to the darkness. There's a smell coming from inside. Unwashed bodies, blood, something worse. Gangrene, maybe. He's smelled it enough times to know. "U.S. Navy!" Hayes calls out in English, then attempts the Japanese phrase he's been taught. "Watashi tachi wa isha desu." We are doctors. His accent is terrible, he knows, but it's all he has. Silence. Then a sound. Whimpering. A child. Hayes clicks on his flashlight. The beam cuts through the darkness, illuminating shapes huddled against the far wall of the cave. Maybe 20 people, maybe more. Women, old men, children. Their faces are ghost white in the flashlight beam, eyes wide with terror. Several are wounded. Hayes can see blood-stained clothing, makeshift bandages made from torn kimonos. "Jesus," Chen breathes behind him. A young woman, maybe 19, maybe 20, is holding a small child, no more than 3 years old. The child's left arm is wrapped in filthy cloth, and even from here, Hayes can see the discoloration spreading up from the wound. Infection. Bad. "Watashi tachi wa isha desu," Hayes repeats, slower this time. He holds up his medical kit, shows them the red cross painted on the canvas. "We help. We—" A rifle shot cracks through the air. The bullet slams into the rock wall inches from Hayes's head, spraying coral dust across his face. He drops flat, Chen right behind him. "Sniper! Northeast ridge!" Another shot. This one ricochets off the cave entrance. Hayes can hear screaming from inside now. The civilians are panicking, pushing deeper into the cave. The young woman with the infected child is trying to move, but she's weak, stumbling. "We can't leave them!" Hayes shouts over the ringing in his ears. "Hayes, we gotta fall back. That kid's got maybe 12 hours before the infection kills him. I'm not watching another child die because we're too scared to do our jobs." A third shot. Fourth. The sniper has found his rhythm now. But Hayes is already inside the cave, flashlight off, moving by feel and memory. He can hear Chen cursing behind him, but then his partner is there too, crawling through the darkness toward the terrified civilians. The young woman is sobbing, clutching her child, pressing herself against the cave wall as if she can somehow disappear into the stone. She's speaking rapidly in Japanese, prayers maybe, or just terror speaking through her. When Hayes reaches for the child, she pulls back, shaking her head violently. "No! No!" Hayes holds up his hands, palms out, empty, harmless. He's done this before, in other caves, other villages. Slowly, carefully, he reaches into his medical kit and pulls out a sulfa powder packet. He holds it where she can see it, then mimics sprinkling powder on a wound, wrapping it. "Help," he says simply. "Help your baby." Her eyes, dark, exhausted, hollowed out by fear, flick between Hayes's face and the medicine in his hand. Outside, the sniper fires again. Rock dust falls from the cave ceiling like snow. Hayes doesn't move, just waits. Finally, trembling, the woman extends the child toward him. The child is burning with fever. Hayes can feel the heat radiating through the dirty cloth as he unwraps the makeshift bandage. His flashlight, propped on a rock, casts harsh shadows across the cave wall. The beam illuminates what he feared. The arm is badly infected, the skin around the wound turning black at the edges. Shrapnel, probably. 3, maybe 4 days old. "Chen, I need water and clean gauze," Hayes says quietly. His hands are steady, despite the rifle shot still echoing outside. "And get me the sulfa tablets, the injectable ones." The young mother watches every movement with the intensity of a cornered animal. Her breathing is rapid, shallow. Behind her, the other civilians remain pressed against the cave wall. An old man with a head wound, 2 teenage girls holding each other, a woman cradling an infant. They're all staring at Hayes with the same expression. Not quite hope, something more like disbelief. Hayes has seen this look before. 2 weeks ago, at Shuri, a grandfather refused treatment for his grandson's compound fracture because he believed, had been told by Japanese soldiers, that American medics would torture the boy before killing him. Hayes had to work on the child while the old man screamed and tried to pull him away, convinced he was watching his grandson's execution. It wasn't until the splint was set and the morphine had dulled the pain that the grandfather finally understood. The look on his face then? Hayes still sees it when he closes his eyes. "This is going to hurt him," Hayes tells the mother, even though he knows she doesn't understand the words, but she'll understand his tone. "But then it'll get better, okay?" He swabs the wound with precious, clean water from his canteen. The child screams, a high, piercing sound that fills the cave. The mother tries to pull him back, but Chen is there, speaking softly in broken Japanese, somehow keeping her calm. Where Chen learned it, Hayes doesn't know. Maybe from his own parents, maybe just picked up these past 3 months. Hayes works quickly, debrides the dead tissue, packs the wound with sulfa powder. The child is thrashing now, but the mother is holding him still, tears streaming down her face. Hayes preps the syringe, penicillin, the real stuff, not the watered-down versions they were getting at Iwo Jima. The needle goes into the child's thigh. More screaming. But it's done. "Finished," Hayes says, wrapping clean gauze around the small arm. He ties it off, then reaches into his kit and pulls out a piece of chocolate, part of his own K-ration from breakfast. He breaks off a small piece and holds it out to the child. The boy's screaming stops. He stares at the brown square like it's something from another world. "Take it," Hayes says gently. "It's okay." Tiny fingers reach out, take the chocolate. The boy puts it in his mouth, and his eyes go wide. For the first time since Hayes entered the cave, the mother's expression changes. The fear is still there, but something else breaks through. Confusion. Wonder. She's looking at Hayes like he's just performed an impossible magic trick, like he's violated some fundamental law of the universe. Outside, the sniper fires again. The bullet whines off the rock face. There's a commotion near the cave entrance, voices shouting in English. Then Sergeant Bill Tompkins is there, crawling into the cave mouth with 2 other corpsmen behind him. "Hayes, orders came down to pull back to the perimeter. There's a whole company of holdouts somewhere in these hills." "Sarge, there's at least 20 civilians in here, half of them wounded. We can't just—" "That's not a request, Corpsman." Tompkins' face is hard, but Hayes can see the conflict in his eyes. "That sniper's already called in our position. We've got maybe 10 minutes before this hillside is crawling with—" A sound cuts him off. Not gunfire. Something else. "The hell was that?" Chen whispers. Then the ceiling moves. It happens in slow motion and all at once. A crack appears in the limestone above them, spreading like lightning across stone. Dust begins to pour down. The rumbling grows louder. One of the teenage girls screams. The civilians are scrambling now, trying to reach the entrance, but there are too many bodies in too small a space. "Cave in!" Tompkins shouts. "Everybody out, now!" Hayes grabs the mother and her child, pushing them toward the entrance. Chen is pulling the old man with the head wound. The other corpsmen are trying to move the rest, but the cave is collapsing inward, limestone chunks the size of basketballs crashing down from above. One catches Corpsman Martinez in the shoulder, spinning him around. He goes down hard. Hayes changes direction, lunging for Martinez instead of the exit. He gets his arms under the corpsman's shoulders, starts dragging him backward. Behind him, he can hear the mother calling out. She stopped at the entrance, won't leave without him. The child in her arms is crying, reaching back toward Hayes like he's family. "Go!" Hayes screams at her. "Get out!" She doesn't move, just stands there in the cave mouth, holding her child, watching this American stranger risk his life for another American stranger. And Hayes can see her trying to reconcile what she was told about these men with what she's witnessing right now. Then Chen is there, taking half of Martinez's weight. Together they haul him toward the entrance. The ceiling groans. More limestone falls. A chunk the size of a car engine crashes down exactly where Hayes was standing 10 seconds ago. They tumble out into daylight. The sniper fires, misses, fires again. Chen grunts, but keeps moving. They're running now, half carrying Martinez, the Japanese civilians scattering into the brush ahead of them. Behind them, the cave exhales a huge cloud of limestone dust as the entrance collapses completely. Hayes hits the ground behind the cover of a demolished wall, gasping for breath. His uniform is white with rock dust. Martinez is conscious but dazed, blood seeping from his shoulder wound. Chen is checking a graze across his ribs. The sniper's second shot got closer than Hayes realized. And there, crouched behind the same wall, is the young mother with her child. She didn't run. She waited. When Hayes meets her eyes, she says something in Japanese. He doesn't understand the words, but the meaning is clear in her voice. "Thank you. Thank you for not being the monsters we were told you were." Tompkins is on his radio, calling in their position, but Hayes isn't listening. He's staring at the collapsed cave entrance, thinking about the other civilians who didn't make it out, thinking about how many more caves there are, how many more children. "We're not done here," Hayes says quietly. Tompkins lowers the radio. "What?" "I said we're not done here, Sergeant." Hayes is already standing, shouldering his medical kit. The radio crackles with static and urgency. "All units, pull back to the southern perimeter. Repeat, all medical personnel evacuate to Collection Point Baker. Enemy activity confirmed in sectors 7 through 12. Tompkins holds the handset looking at Hayes, at Chen, bleeding from his ribs but already repacking his medical kit, at the young mother who's still watching them with that expression of shattered disbelief, at the collapsed cave in the hillside beyond it, honeycombed with darkness. "You heard the order, Hayes." "I heard it, Sarge." Hayes is cleaning rock dust from his hands with a piece of gauze. His fingers are steady, "and I'm respectfully declining." "That's not how the chain of command works, Corpsman." "Then court-martial me when we're done." Hayes meets Tompkins' eyes. "How old's your daughter, Sarge? 6? 7? Tompkins' jaw tightens. Everyone in the company knows about his daughter back in Ohio. Her picture is tucked into his helmet liner, a gap-toothed smile and pigtails. "That's not fair, Hayes." "No, what's not fair is leaving kids to die in caves because we're scared of snipers." Hayes points up the hillside. "There are at least 8 more caves in this sector alone. If we leave now, how many children are we sentencing to death? How many mothers get to watch their babies die of infected wounds because we chose safety over duty?" Chen speaks up, his voice tight with pain. "I'm staying too." "Chen, you're hit." "It's a graze. I've had worse." Chen wraps a quick bandage around these ribs, tucking it under his utility belt. Hayes is right. We didn't come to Okinawa to do half the job. Tompkins is quiet for a long moment. The radio squawks again, more urgent this time. Behind them, small arms fire rattles in the distance. The holdouts are engaging someone, somewhere. The sniper on the northeast ridge fires another shot, but it's wild, panicked. Maybe he's being flanked. Martinez, can you move? The corpsman nods, wincing as he sits up. Shoulders busted, but my legs work. Then get yourself back to the collection point. That's an order. Tompkins clicks the radio handset. As for the rest of us, we've got caves to clear, but we do this smart. Pairs, no heroics, and the second this becomes a suicide mission, we pull out. Understood? Understood, Sarge. And Hayes, when the captain asks me why I disobeyed a direct evacuation order, I'm telling him it was your idea. Fair enough, Sarge. They split into pairs. Hayes and Chen take the western caves. Corpsman Jackson and O'Reilly head north. Tompkins and Corpsman Williams, his shoulder still bandaged from 2 days ago, move east. The young mother and her child are escorted down the hillside by 2 riflemen who appeared from somewhere. Hayes doesn't ask where. Before she leaves, she bows deeply to Hayes, then says something to one of the riflemen in halting English. She says you are a good man. She says she will tell everyone what you did, that the Americans are not demons. Hayes doesn't know what to say to that, so he just nods and watches her carry her child, arm freshly bandaged, fever already breaking from the penicillin, down toward safety. Then he and Chen are moving again, climbing toward the next cave entrance. The next 3 hours become a blur of darkness and fear and small miracles. In the second cave, they find a teenage boy with both legs crushed by fallen rock. Hayes and Chen spend 40 minutes digging him out while bullets from an unseen sniper chip away at the cave entrance. They get him out. He'll lose one leg below the knee, but he'll live. In the fourth cave, they talk a terrified grandmother into letting them treat her grandson's bayonet wound. The old woman keeps apologizing in Japanese. Chen translates later that she was apologizing for thinking they were monsters, for teaching her grandson to fear them. In the sixth cave, they found 3 children alone. The youngest may be 5 years old, no adults. The oldest girl, maybe 13, had been trying to care for the younger ones, but she's wounded herself. Shrapnel in her side, infected and spreading. Hayes works on her while Chen entertains the little ones with shadow puppets on the cave wall, using his flashlight and his hands to make rabbits and birds. The children laugh. Actual laughter, echoing in that dark hole in the earth. How do you know shadow puppets? Hayes asks while he's cleaning the girl's wound. My grandmother, before the camps, before all of this. Hayes doesn't ask which camps. He knows. Everyone knows what happened to Japanese Americans after Pearl Harbor. The fact that Chen is here, wearing the uniform, treating Japanese civilians with the same care he'd give anyone else, Hayes thinks about that a lot. But what it means to be that good, that dedicated, despite everything. The sun is setting when they finally reach the last cave on their list. Hayes' medical kit is almost empty. His canteen went dry 2 hours ago. His hands are shaking from exhaustion and dehydration. Behind them the sounds of combat have faded. The snipers went quiet around 1600 hours. Either they pulled back or they're dead. This cave is deeper than the others. The entrance is partially hidden by overgrown vegetation. Chen pulls the vines aside with his rifle barrel. The smell that wafts out is worse than any of the others. Death and waste and despair all mixed together. Doc, Chen says quietly, I don't know if anyone's alive in there. Only one way to find out. The cave extends back maybe 30 feet, then opens into a larger chamber. Hayes' flashlight beam sweeps across the space and stops on a shape in the corner. A woman, unconscious or dead, and in her arms, a child, maybe 2 years old, still moving, still breathing. Hayes is across the cave in seconds. The woman is gone, he can tell by the coldness of her skin, by the stillness, but the child is alive, barely, covered in infected sores, and so dehydrated his lips are cracked and bleeding. Hayes gets water into him, just drops at a time so he doesn't choke, cleans his wounds, uses the last of his sulfa powder, the last of his penicillin, the last of everything. We need to get him out, Hayes says. Now. They carry the child out into the fading daylight. The hillside is quiet now, almost peaceful. In the distance, Hayes can see the lights of the field hospital. Somewhere down there, doctors are setting up for the evening rush. Nurses are prepping surgical stations. The war machine grinding forward, treating the wounded, American and Japanese, alike. Chen is looking at the child in Hayes's arms. Think he'll make it? I don't know, Hayes admits. But we gave him a chance. That's more than he had an hour ago. They start down the hillside together, two medics at the end of their strength, carrying one more life out of the darkness. Behind them, the caves stand empty now, silent. Tomorrow, teams will go back through them, documenting, recovering, processing. But tonight, Hayes and Chen got everyone out that they could find, everyone they could reach. It's not enough. It will never be enough. But it's what they have. When they reach the field hospital, a nurse takes the child from Hayes's arms. A doctor, Captain Morrison's replacement, Hayes realizes, comes over with water and a disapproving frown. Corpsman Hayes, you were ordered to evacuate 6 hours ago. Yes, sir. You disobeyed that order. Yes, sir. The doctor looks at him for a long moment, at Chen swaying on his feet with exhaustion and blood loss, at the child now being rushed into triage, then back at Hayes. How many did you get out? 37, sir, give or take. Children? 16, sir. The doctor nods slowly. Get yourself cleaned up, Corpsman. Report to my tent at 0800 tomorrow. We'll discuss your disciplinary action then. He pauses. For the record, good work today. Both of you. Hayes and Chen stumbled toward the mess tent. The sun is gone now, replaced by stars and the distant glow of fires still burning in the north. Somewhere out there, in caves they haven't found yet, there might be more civilians, more children. But tonight, 37 people are alive who wouldn't have been. 16 children are being treated, fed, given a chance at survival. Behind them, in the hospital tent, the 2-year-old boy begins to cry. Not the weak whimper of earlier, but a real cry, angry, demanding, alive. A nurse soothes him with soft words. Tomorrow they'll try to find out if he has any living relatives. Tomorrow they'll document his case for the records. Tomorrow there will be forms and reports and questions. But tonight he's just a child who survived because 2 American medics refused to leave until they'd checked every cave, treated every wound, saved every life they could reach. 3 weeks later, when the stories begin to spread through the Okinawan refugee camps, stories of American doctors who risked everything to save Japanese children, who treated them like their own, who refused orders to evacuate because they wouldn't leave wounded kids behind. Many civilians don't believe it at first. It contradicts everything they were told, everything they were taught to expect. But the young mother with the 3-year-old son, his arm healing cleanly from the infection that would have killed him, tells everyone who will listen. The teenage girl with the bayonet wound, walking again, tells her story. The 13-year-old who watched 2 Americans dig for 40 minutes to save her cousin tells hers. And slowly the image changes. The demons become men. The enemy becomes human. In the ruins of war, in the darkness of those limestone caves, something shifted that even the aftermath of battle couldn't quite explain. Years later, when Robert Hayes is asked about Okinawa, about those caves, about the decision to stay when they were ordered to leave, he'll say simply, "They were kids. What else were we supposed to do?"